So welcome, this is Accounting 1. We are in Chapter 5 and this is Section 4. In this section we're going to be talking about petty cash. I've said before, anytime we write a check, we refer to that as cash, and that businesses don't ever really spend cash. However, sometimes it is important to use cash to spend on little things, such as if I needed to mail a letter. It would be very inconvenient to have to write a check to take to the post office to buy maybe one stamp or to mail one item. So instead, you can use petty cash. And what petty cash is, it's basically a little money box you have in your desk or in your vault at work. And you have a set amount in that, and every time you need to spend it on the little things such as postage or whatnot, you can just simply use the cash that is real cash out of that box. What you do, you take your cash out, you go buy your item, you take your receipts, you put it back into the box. So at the end of the period, you can always go back through, you add up your receipts, you can add up what cash is left, and those two must match. So you do have to still show a receipt for everything you've taken out of the box. At the end of the period, you will then take all your receipts, group them together, such as postage or supplies or whatnot, and go ahead and make journal entries for those and pull them out of the box, record your receipts in your journal, and then replenish your petty cash so you can start off the next period with cash back into the box. So what we're going to do today is we're going to learn how to establish the petty cash box and then how to replenish it. So first of all, what is petty cash? And according to your book on page 134, petty cash is an amount of cash kept on hand and used for making small payments. Okay, so the amount of cash kept on hand and used for making small payments. The next question we've already talked about, why do businesses use petty cash funds? And your book says it is for time and cost effectiveness. Okay, next we're going to journalize the transaction on page 1 of the journal. So looking at your journal here, we're just going to establish a petty cash fund of $100. We're going to write check number 8 to get this done, and this is on August the 19th. So we're going to come down, August the 19th, and the account we're going to use to establish our petty cash fund is actually petty cash. Now this is the only time, besides for at the end of the period when we get into closing accounts. But right now, petty cash, this is the only time you're ever going to use it, is when you establish it. You will not use petty cash when you replenish it. That's important to know. So to do this, we have written a check. It is check number 8. We are going to debit petty cash because petty cash is an asset. And so we're going to debit it $100 to increase it. And we are going to credit cash $100 because we are taking $100 out of our checking account. Okay, now if we have that journalized, so now we have our petty cash set up and we're ready to make a payment from our petty cash. So making payments from the petty cash fund, we use a petty cash slip. And a petty cash slip is a form showing proof of the petty cash payment. And there are 7 pieces of information that is shown on your petty cash form. And those are all listed in your book on page 135. So we'll just go ahead and go through those. Okay, so the first thing it's going to show is the petty cash slip number because our petty cash slips are numbered. That way we can keep track and make sure none of them goes missing. The second thing is the date of the payment, or the day we're taking the money out of the petty cash box, to whom the petty cash is being paid, the reason for the payment, the amount of the payment, the account to which the amount is going to be recorded. So were we buying postage, were we buying supplies, what account are we using to record this money into? And then we need a signature to approve the payment just like we would on a check. So now we've established our petty cash. We've actually used our petty cash throughout the month, and it's the end of the month and we need to replenish our petty cash. So to replenish the petty cash, like I said earlier, you are not going to use the petty cash account. Again, so to replenish, that's a mistake a lot of people make, is they want to use the petty cash account. You don't have to use that. All we need to do is take all of our receipts, we'll put all of advertising together, put all the miscellaneous things together, and then we have a total of how much we have taken out. So it says to record the transaction on page 1 of the journal for August 31st. We paid cash to replenish the petty cash fund, $30. So the total amount that we had spent out of our petty cash fund was $30. This is for $20 worth of miscellaneous expenses and $10 worth of advertising. And we're going to write check number 12 for $30 to replenish the fund. Okay, the check will be made to petty cash. However, in our journal, we're not going to record petty cash. So the date of this is the 31st. The first account title we're going to use is miscellaneous expense. This is going to be, what document number is this? This is C12. And because this is an expense and it is increasing, it increases with a debit. So that is $20. And over here, I'm going to come over to cash credit and put in the total amount of the check, which is $30. Okay, you know we're not done with this because, first of all, we haven't used advertising, and our $20 and our $30 don't match. So we're going to come down to the next line. We don't have to put in our date because this is still part of the same transaction. This is going to be advertising expense. We're not listing the document number because it's still the same one, and this will be a debit of $10. So now for our transaction, we have a debit of $10, we have a debit of $10, which will equal 30, and we have a credit of $30. We're going to go ahead and write our check, and then we can cash it so we can put the money back into the box. When you replenish petty cash, the petty cash account is not used. The only time you use the petty cash account is when you establish or open petty cash and when you close petty cash. That's important to remember. Okay, so we are done working on the notes. We are going to go ahead and continue this video, and we're going to do 5-4 work together. In your book, you're going to find that on page 138, and in your workbook, that'll be on page 97. Then you're going to pause the video, go ahead and do the on your own, and make sure that you got that correct. And then for your homework, you'll do application problem 5-4. When you have finished that, because this is the last section for this chapter, you're going to do your mastery problem. That is in your book. It's on page 141 and 142, and your workbook is page 106. For extra credit, if you'd like to do the extra credit, you can do the challenge problem. That's going to be on your book in page 142 and your workbook page 107. And you can also do the cases for critical thinking for extra credit. There is a couple different paragraphs. You're going to read them and then just answer how you think that what you think would be happening there. So the cases for critical thinking are in your book on page 143, and you can just write those on a blank piece of paper if you want to turn those in. So that's the end of chapter 5. Go ahead, do your work together and on your own, get your application problem done, work on your mastery and your extra credit, and be ready for your test. All right, thanks and good luck. Okay, here we are in your workbook for your work together. This is just going to be to establish and then to replenish your petty cash fund. In your book, I'm looking at page 138. The directions say, number 1, journalize the following transactions completed in July of the current year. You're going to use page 13 of your journal. The abbreviation for a check is C. So the first transaction was July the 3rd. So it said this is journal page 13. So I'm just going to come up here where it says page number and put in page 13. Okay, and then I'm going to come down here, and this is the first line, so I'm going to put the month of July. And this is July the 3rd. And it says we are going to pay cash to establish a petty cash fund of $250. This is check number 57. So the account, because we're establishing petty cash, is going to be petty cash. This is check number 57. So for document number, I'm going to put C57. We are going to debit petty cash because petty cash is an asset, and an asset is going to increase with a debit, and it's for $250. And because we wrote a check for this, we're going to come over and we need to credit cash of $250. That way it shows that it came out of our checking account. Okay, that's all we have to do for that one. Transaction number 2 is July the 31st. It says we paid cash to replenish the petty cash fund of $78. So the check is actually going to be for $78. We had supplies of $25, miscellaneous expenses of $8, and repairs of $45. So we have three different accounts that we're going to need to record on the one transaction. So this is July the 31st. The first account it lists is supplies of $25. Going to come over. I'm going to go ahead and record my check number on the top line. This was check number 97, so C97. The amount in petty cash that was for supplies was $25. Okay, I'm going to come on over to cash, and it's going to be a cash credit because we are writing a check, and we're going to put the entire amount of the check, which is all of our different accounts added together. And so the check was for $78. Okay, on the next line, the next account we used is miscellaneous expense. We don't need a document number because we've already recorded our check number. We're going to come over here and we're going to debit miscellaneous expense for $8. Okay, we don't need to record a cash credit because we've already got that totaled in. And then on the next line, we're going to record our repairs expense for $45. Now in your book, it just says repairs. It does not say repairs expense. However, you should be able to look at your chart of accounts and know that we don't just have repairs, we have repairs expense. So repairs expense, and that is $45. Okay, you can double check, make sure that these three amounts are going to add up to your 78 because your debits must equal your credits. And if it does, that is it. Go ahead and pause the video, do the work, do the on your own problem, and then come back and double check and make sure you did it right. Okay, here is 5-4 on your own. And I just want you to double check, make sure these are the same answers that you got. You should only have 2 different credits. Everything else should be in your general debit. So if that matches, then you are ready to go ahead and do your application problem for 5-4. Then do your, since we're done with the chapter, you're going to do your mastery problem. And then if you want, you can go ahead and do the extra credit with the challenge problem in the cases for critical thinking, and you'll be ready for your test. Thank you.